but to saying this is how the world will look by 2050. Trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video so we can come back and see if these predictions were right. These are the most popular theories. People will be able to live on after death through AI. It would be like a digital twin clone of you that will continue to live on for the rest of, well, existence in the AI world. Or, a bit more personal, we might actually be able to upload our brains to computers to live on.
A man survived a raging wildfire by scuba diving in his neighbor's pool. He stayed underwater for 5 minutes as the fire destroyed everything around him, but the man emerged completely unscathed. In 1978, mental patient Margaret Schilling suddenly vanished during a game of hide-and-seek at the Athens Lunatic Asylum in Ohio. Despite extensive efforts, Margaret remained missing for more than a year until her lifeless body was finally discovered. She somehow found her way into an abandoned ward, took her clothes off, and laid on the floor with her arms tightly clasped around her chest before eventually dying. Her body left a stubborn stain that's still there to this day, despite repeated attempts to remove it.
This is what the future of Earth looks like. In 23,000 years from now, Niagara Falls will dry up and disappear from erosion. In 75,000 years, a new Hawaiian island will surface. In 500,000 years, the Earth will face an impact from an asteroid with a diameter of around 1 kilometer. In 50 million years, Mars will gain a ring while Saturn loses its rings. In 180 million years, the Moon will slow down Earth's rotation so much that days are now 25 hours long. In 800 million years, the Sun will be so bright that all plants and animals on Earth will die. In 5 billion years, the Milky Way galaxy will collide with the Andromeda galaxy, forming a massive Milkdromeda galaxy. After 7 billion years, the Sun will grow into a red giant, swallowing both the Earth and the Moon in the process. In 100 trillion years, the birth of new stars will end as galaxies are depleted of gas clouds. In 1 nonillion years, the universe is dark, and all that's left are massive black holes. Eventually, after a Google nonillion quadrillion years, the cycle may reset with another Big Bang.
Creepy last words people said.
That's
right
an insane amount of information.
Rachel said that she had been caring for a female patient who was dying of stage 4 lung cancer for weeks. She was frail, her voice barely more than a whisper, but sharp as ever. One night, during her rounds, Rachel said that the patient stopped her with the question, "Did you see him?" she asked. "See who?" asked Rachel. "The man in the suit. He comes when the lights are low, stands by the window. He's handsome, but his eyes." She shuddered. "He keeps asking me if I want to make a deal," she said. "He says he can take it all away. The pain, the sickness. I tell him no every night. Every night I tell him no," she said. Rachel said that she thought it was the morphine talking, until her last night she gripped Rachel's hand and whispered, "He's angry tonight. I told him no again." Her breathing grew heavier. "He said it was my last chance." Rachel squeezed the patient's hand and told her to rest, but as she turned to leave, a chill ran down her spine. The room felt different, heavy even. An hour later, the patient had passed away. Rachel said that she whispered a quiet goodbye and glanced out the window. For a split second, she said that she swears she saw something, a figure in a black suit, watching, and then just as quickly, he was gone.
I'm so embarrassed to live in Canada because why is this man who violently raped 2 women out on bail? This isn't even the first time that something like this has happened. Canada is known for this shit. There is literally little to no consequences for these kind of crimes or just any crime in general. So if you live in Ontario, specifically the Hamilton area, you want to avoid this disgusting man at all costs. He is very dangerous and he's out on bail. This is 22-year-old Lakesh Cheriou, and on July 13th, he attacked a woman who was walking on a trail and dragged her into a wooded area and raped her. He tied her wrists behind her back and he eventually stopped when someone was approaching the trail, so he fled the scene, and this is the footage and photos that they got. But it doesn't even end there, because on August 7th, he entered a 74-year-old woman's home while she was sleeping and he raped her for over an hour. Police were able to connect both of the attacks to him and he was arrested, but he was just released on bail. And then right after he was let out, the police come out with a statement that says, "Hamilton police warning the public after sexual assault suspect released." So my thing is, instead of trying to warn us of someone who is extremely dangerous, why not just keep him behind bars? Make it make sense.
There's no nothing but facts what you're speaking. You know what this is.
Most unusual places in the world. Located in Quebec, Canada, this forest has a pretty creepy atmosphere. It might be because the ground looks like it's moving, making it seem like Mother Earth is taking a deep breath. This next one is actually terrifying. Located in Penang, Malaysia, this huge water tornado was getting extremely close to this apartment building. Fortunately, it stopped right in front of the building because it ran out of water. And how about this one? It used to be a hiking area before it got flooded, so everything you see here used to be above water. Imagine being a fish and seeing this appear out of nowhere.
You'd be so confused, like, what the hell's going on?
Shortly after that video was posted on TikTok, the 14-year-old girl who took the video, named Scarlett Vickers, would be murdered by her own father. Scarlett was your average girl living in the United Kingdom. But sadly, on July 5th, 2024, she would end up dead. Now, initially, Scarlett's 50-year-old father, Simon, claimed that he and his daughter had been having a play fight in the kitchen. They were throwing objects at each other, he said, and he accidentally grabbed a knife and threw it at his daughter, and that's how she died. It was a big accident. But authorities called bullshit. You see, Scarlett had been inflicted with a 4-inch deep stab wound. A stab wound that had punctured her body at a 90-degree angle. There was a lot of contention in the courtroom as Simon tried to defend himself and acted like he was not complicit in his own daughter's murder. But on January 27th, 2025, he was found guilty of killing his own daughter, and he will now be sentenced on February 10th. It's still unclear, though, exactly what happened that evening. Sadly, through all the investigating that authorities did, they couldn't tell exactly what had happened that had caused this situation. Was there a fight? Was there a big argument? Why did Simon stab Scarlett? Those are the details that are still unknown, and since Simon, throughout the trial, refused to share the whole truth with the court, sadly, the reality of the situation was probably taken to the grave with Scarlett. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast that I co-host with my wife, Courtney, Murder in America. It's available on all streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Oh, I never know the truth, man. But play fighting with your daughter, that's stories already sound like BS.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. One of your photos that you have today will be used in your funeral. There are more slaves today than any other time in history. According to the founder of the Walk Free Foundation, there are 46 million slaves in the world today. Your eyes can still move after your death for 15 to 30 seconds. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.4 years. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, no one knows where that signal came from. A lit candle causes more than 15,000 house fires every year. Spider rain could happen at any moment above you. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the 2017 version of It, was born in 1990, the year the original It was released. Yeah.
So he was born to play Pennywise.
Fun facts you wouldn't believe are true. A horse jockey once died halfway through a race and won. Neil Armstrong almost had to sue his barber for selling his hair. Professional cheesemakers are now studying whether music can change the taste of cheese. There was once a 10-year-old gymnast who finished 3rd in the Olympics. There's a Starbucks cup in every single scene in the movie Fight Club.
Hold up, who's that 10-year-old gymnast, man, that competed in the Olympics? Must be the youngest Olympian ever. You're gonna have to look that up, man. Confirm if that's true or not. What medal did the 10-year-old win? Gold, silver, bronze?
Saturn, 2 seconds. Mars, less than 2 minutes. Less than 1 second. Pluto. Less than 3 seconds.
Oh.
Earth. 80 to 90 years.
Experts are saying this is how the
Interesting.
world will look by 2050. Trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video so we can come back and see if these predictions were right. These are the most popular theories. People will be able to live on after death through AI. It would be like a digital twin clone of you that will continue to live on for the rest of, well, existence in the AI world. Or, a bit more personal, we might actually be able to upload our brains to computers to live on. In fact, a Google engineer has said this merge with machines will happen by 2025. That's next year! We will have found intelligent aliens. However, whether this is a good or a bad thing is still left unknown. And finally, uninhabitable portions of the Earth. Due to climate change, humidity and heat will make it almost impossible for humans to survive outdoors in these areas. Do you think any of this will happen by 2050? Let me know in the comments. You ain't lying!
I think the AI one is most likely, man, because the way they pushing the AI, especially, man, it's getting to everything. Gaming, pictures, the internet, you name it. So, you know they probably... Wow. I didn't know that.
This is why you can't
Wow.
always believe what you see. We are officially bringing back the This Is Why Scary Stories, and this one is an old creepypasta about a boy named Jimmy and his unusual parents. So Jimmy was just a normal boy living a normal life until one day everything went wrong. One night he had a terrible nightmare, so he ran into his parents' room and screamed that there was a monster under his bed. His parents, of course, reassured him that there's no monsters anywhere in their house until they heard it too. There were loud thumping noises coming from Jimmy's room and then just silence. So his mom went to check on her husband, leaving Jimmy alone. And that's when Jimmy heard the same noise again, this time even louder. After his parents didn't come back for a while, Jimmy decided to find out what was going on. So he tiptoed his way back into the room and saw his mother cleaning the floor and his father just leaning over the bed. His mother then turned around and said, "Oh, sorry, your father slipped on a toy and tore your bed. He's sewing it back up and I'm just cleaning the mess." So after that, Jimmy didn't really think anything was wrong, but his parents started acting really weird. And that night, Jimmy felt like his bed, which his dad had just fixed, was lumpy and uncomfortable. Maybe he had sewn it incorrectly, Jimmy thought before he fell asleep. But soon things got worse. Jimmy's room began smelling really bad at night and he even had to sleep on the floor. Until one day he just couldn't stand it anymore and cut open the line of stitching that his father had sewn. And that's when he finally discovered the truth. As he opened the bed, he saw that surrounded by the stuffing were the decaying but recognizable bodies of his parents. He screamed at the sight of their rotting skin. And that's when he heard a knock at his door. "Jimmy, are you okay?" came his mother's voice, then his father's. "See, I told you, there are no monsters under your bed. Follow for more."
She drew it at the same time.
Story was the picture that came out of the Verana cruise liner, large ship that went down at the Atlantic Ocean in 2014, and nobody really knew why at the time. There were very few survivors of this, and the news kind of like mulled over this for months. They were doing deep dives onto the ship to look for very like sinister evidence and relics. Of those who did survive, they all kind of shared this very strange story because they claimed they saw something kind of unexplainable in the water. For a while, it just kind of continued as that. It was just a story. These things kept going on. Like people kept diving down there, trying to collect relics, evidence, anything they could from the ship, and they found this. The phone of one of the passengers who died, and even though it was waterlogged for a long time, it was still semi-functional. On the phone, this was a photo that was apparently found, leaked from an evidence bank in 2017, and it's hard to refute what this picture is. An unexplained shot of just someone standing in the water, eerily enough taken on the same day the ship sank.
Looks like a mermaid, or it could be a siren or something.
Morbid facts about World War I that will give you nightmares. During the First World War, Canadians were obsessed about killing Germans, and many of them went against the truce laws by pretending to show mercy to those who surrendered, only to change their mind later on and shoot them unknowingly. During the war, sometimes soldiers would throw cans of food over trenches, so the starving soldiers would rush to grab the canned food, but little did they know that grenades were waiting for them as well. In the northeastern part of France, there are still some areas that are off limits to the public, because they are still full of unexploded chemicals such as mustard gas and many others.
Damn. The Canadians supposed to be nice.
Really?
Was that her sister in the back?
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall.
with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my god.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el celular. No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
That dog was locked in, bro. He got the perfect podcast partner, man. That dog was locked in on that video.
Terrifying games you don't want to play, part 24. The Travel Man game. If you play this game correctly, the rewards could be great. But if you're greedy, you just might lose everything. To play this game, you will need to summon the mysterious Travel Man. To do this, you will need a candle or lantern and an empty household. You'll need to wait until night falls, light the candle, and go to your own front door. Next, you'll need to knock on the door 3 times while saying the words, Travel Man, come make me a deal. Finally, you'll need to repeat these steps every night for the next 7 nights. If you follow these instructions carefully, on the 7th night you may be greeted by a well-dressed entity carrying a briefcase. This is the Travel Man. He will immediately open his briefcase and offer you an item of little value, such as an apple or a small sum of money. You can accept this item, ending the game and banishing the Travel Man, or you can decline. If you decline, he will offer you an item that is slightly more valuable, and this process will continue until you accept his deal. However, be warned, with every item you decline, there is a chance he will accuse you of being too greedy and demand something from you instead. Your soul or your life. Comment whether or not you would play this game and follow for more.
No! Don't play those type of games.
People
Never.
are freaking out after finding out what this actually means. So some of you have probably had this before, and if you don't know what this is, it's like a twitch in your eye. Sometimes you'll just be relaxing, going about your day, or normally in the morning when you first wake up, and your eye, either above there or under there, will just start randomly twitching, and whatever you do, it won't go away. Now this is actually known as mychemia, which is involuntary spasms of these bits in the eye. Now this is actually surprisingly pretty common. A lot of people get this, especially when they first wake up in the morning. Now, normal eye strain can be a bit worse and lead to all of these different symptoms, and normal eye strain itself can cause this over time. Now, the reason you get the twitching eye is down to these things right here, most commonly having a lot of caffeine or not getting enough sleep, but also other things impact it like stress, or if you're in a job you don't really enjoy, because essentially all it is your muscles getting tense, which causes it to spasm. And if you're constantly looking at a computer or something, that's probably going to get tense. And if you have too much caffeine or aren't getting enough sleep, it will stimulate this, and that's why you literally cannot get it to stop.
Don't touch this.
Interesting.
So people are freaking out just finding out why they should never ever get a receipt. So most receipts use thermal paper, which contain many chemicals that are really not good for you. BPA to be specific, which is easily absorbed into your bloodstream when you touch it, which is mad to even say. Now of course these chemicals that are being absorbed when you touch a receipt are not very good for you. They're very toxic and harmful. Some so bad they can actually disrupt hormones, so bad it can actually cause infertility and even increase your risk of cancers. Yeah. Now, if you live in the UK or Europe, receipts don't contain as many chemicals, which is weird, but somehow they don't. But if you live in the US, you've got the bad bit here because they are very bad. Although even here in the UK, they're still not going to be good for you. Containing more toxics than if you were to touch or lick a toilet seat. Now, I hope you wouldn't be scanning your receipts, but still by touching them, as I say, it can absorb into your bloodstream, which isn't good. So many people now are just opting for email receipts and not touching these receipts because they're bad. Now, of course, you're not all going to get ill, just touching it every now and again isn't that bad. But if you're constantly touching these things every single day, it's not good for you.
Man. That put me on, bro. Every single time I get a receipt, man, I've been getting, the text box, but now I'm probably about to do that for everything, man. Limit touching these receipts. They can change your hormones and stuff too, man. These clips. We learning. every single day.
Throats, ripped out entrails, and wielded a knife with surgical precision. His name is Jack the Ripper. He murdered at least 5 women, mostly prostitutes, in or near London's Whitechapel district from August 7th to November 10th, 1888. His victims were Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The throat of each victim was cut, and usually the body was mutilated in a manner indicating the murderer had considerable knowledge of human anatomy. But the nature of these murders strongly suggested a single perpetrator. Authorities received a series of taunting notes and letters from a person calling himself Jack the Ripper. Anti-Semitic slurs were found scrawled on a wall in chalk, suggesting it was written by the killer. It was a mystery that endured for more than 130 years. Until recently. Aaron Kosminski is thought to be the terror behind Jack the Ripper. He was a Polish barber who, according to confidential police reports, had a great hatred of women and strong homicidal tendencies. But there wasn't hard evidence. In 1890, Kosminski had a suspected schizophrenic breakdown and threatened his sister with a knife. He was committed to Colney Hatch Lunatic Asylum, where he later died 28 years later. Author and Ripper researcher Russell Edwards has uncovered photos showing Kosminski's brother Isaac dressed as a member of the Lodge of Israel Freemasons, which may explain why Kosminski escaped justice. Edwards bought victim Catherine Eddowes' blood-stained shawl at auction. It was later found to have the DNA of both the victim and Kosminski. Edwards has hired a legal team to fight for an inquest on the grounds that there are further evidence for a coroner to consider about the circumstances of the death and, crucially, who was responsible. Karen Miller, who is the 3 times great-granddaughter of Miss Eddowes, and other family members of the victims are backing Edwards and the legal application for a new inquest in the death of Eddowes. Will the truth finally be uncovered?
Some people are saying that this video is proof that a demon possessed this priest. Let me know in the comments what you think. Watch this.
Let's check it out. That kid fighting back, what the?
So let me know what you guys think. Do you think this priest was really possessed by a demon? Or is he just a piece of shit?
He wouldn't let go of the kid. I don't know what came over him. Something was definitely up.
Okay, yo, I have a crazy theory for you. Alright, so would you consider the Earth an organism?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Now, in a sense, the world is living.
Yeah.
Right? In a sense, the world kind of has veins. It has almost even like a
heartbeat too, if you think about it.
Like a heartbeat, low key. Even has like a nervous system.
Yeah.
If you think about the roots and the plants and all of the things it's attached to in the Earth, it's all connected, right? It's all connected. Now, there's this theory saying that the Earth is a being. It's an organism. And the humans are kind of the virus. So the Earth... So when we get sick, when a human gets sick, right?
Yeah.
We create antibodies to
get rid of the virus.
To get rid of the virus, right? Yeah. So in the same sense, the Earth will create natural disasters, famine, drought, wildfire, to kill off the virus.
No, that's crazy.
Yo,
that's crazy to think about.
Just think about it, bro. Think about it. We low-key hurt the Earth, right?
Yeah.
We're doing worse for the Earth than the better. And look at all the natural disasters that are happening because of it.
Yeah, and I think about, like, the more that we hurt the Earth, like, the stronger the storms get.
Yeah.
Like, think about, like, the more global warming happens, like, the stronger, like, the hurricanes are. The hurricanes are more powerful.
Exactly. Like, look at earthquakes before. They haven't seen, like, huge earthquakes like that.
Yeah.
Like, hundreds of years ago. It was different. And then, all of a sudden, we have these 9.8 fucking earthquakes. These heavy magnitude earthquakes. What the hell?
Like, all these, like, tornadoes.
I swear, almost every time, it's like a world record.
Yeah.
So what if we are the virus, bro? What if humans are the virus?
I feel like we're always gonna be the virus, like, no matter where we go.
Yeah.
Humans, we always want more. And, like, we always want to achieve more and all that shit.
Yeah.
100 life.
Sad but true, man. Humans are the virus to the Earth. I was again at first, man. When he started speaking about it, I started piecing it together, man. The Earth is an organism if you think about it. Something to keep in mind.
Guards were having a pool party to celebrate one summer without any drownings. You will never guess how one guest died. It was August 1985 in New Orleans. The Recreation Department in New Orleans decided to throw a pool party to celebrate a summer without any drownings. This was actually the first summer in memory that this had happened. There was around 200 people in attendance at the party, and there were 4 lifeguards on duty that day. However, one guest's untimely death would become horrifically ironic. The guests had a great time at the party, but as soon as everybody started to disperse and the lifeguards started to clean out the pool, they discovered something horrific. A man named Jerome Moody was fully clothed, submerged at the bottom of the deep end. They desperately tried to resuscitate him, but it was too late. It's believed that during the course of the party, he'd ended up slipping fully clothed into the pool. No one witnessed it, and therefore nobody had managed to save him.
I'm Ian Van Gogh, and this 2009 gem is one for all my fellow gore-loving friends. And before we get into it, hit that follow button for daily horror movie content and reviews. And today, we're talking about Sweatshop. A group of friends break into an abandoned factory in order to throw an impromptu party, unaware that it's not as empty as they originally believed. So this movie has some unlikable characters, a lot of quick cuts, and a lot of rave dancing. But if you can get past all that, this movie slaps. It has some of the coolest unaliving scenes. The villain is a beast, and their weapon of choice is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Come to think of it, if you're familiar with the Executioner from the video game Resident Evil 5, it's kind of like that, and it's fucking gnarly. The blood, gore, and makeup effects are fantastic, and I'm assuming they put the majority of the $12,000 budget into the special effects. If you love gnarly, brutal, and bloody, then this one is for you. I had a blast with it, and I hope you do too. You can find it streaming on Tubi, Prime, and Plex. If you've seen Sweatshop, let me know what you think of it in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
The catacombs,
Tubi and
the darkest
Plex.
secret on Earth. An underground complex 300 kilometers long with 6 to 7 million bodies, and we're supposed to believe it's because too many people got sick and hungry, or might they be hiding what remains of the old world? And that's just the one in Paris. These catacombs are all over the world. Just a theory, entertainment purposes only. So, why is there a labyrinth of corpses under the city of Paris in the first place? History tells us in the late 18th century, so many people were dying from disease and famine that they started running out of cemetery space to bury them. Bodies were piling up so much they were causing odors throughout the city, so King Louis XVI ordered his authorities to fix this problem. In 1785, they uncovered an old underground tunnel system called the Tombissoir quarries, which were used as limestone quarries hundreds of years earlier to build famous sites like Notre Dame. They repurposed these tunnels to relocate all the bones from the overpopulated cemeteries over the course of about 12 years, and did so with an air of secrecy. You know, to not raise panic among the citizens, of course. This site was officially called the Paris Municipal Ossuary, and eventually began to take on the mythical name of the catacombs. The first thing anyone notices about these subterranean graves is the intricate, almost ritualistic design of the human remains. The bones weren't just stashed away in large heaps as one might expect would be the case for a disposal project as this one, but were organized in a decorative fashion, aligning femurs with skulls along the walls, geometric patterns, a throne of bones, and even this famous centerpiece known as the barrel, which, according to sources, were all put in place by the average 18th century quarrymen. They were led by official quarry engineers like Louis Etienne d'Aturi, but still peculiar to see. In fact, the architecture was so nice that in 1809 the catacombs were even open to the public for tours, which only the rich could afford. Ritualistic sites involving the deceased attended by only the elite class? Some things never change. Now, why on earth would a literal mass grave be so intricately decorated for presentation in a borderline victorious manner like they were celebrating something? But no, they were just moving some bones out of the way, nothing to see here. Let's do some math. 6 to 7 million bodies moved over the course of 12 years as claimed means 57 to 67 bodies moved every hour, night and day for 12 years straight. That's one body, which contains several bones, moved into place in carefully designed patterns every minute, day and night, non-stop for 12 years. Which could be possible given a sizable workforce, just quite impressive to say the least, especially given their incredible design. But the question does arise, where do you get 6 to 7 million bodies in a city with a population of just about 600,000 at the time? That's 10 times the population of Paris in the 1780s, and even about 3 times Paris's population today. I understand these bodies have accumulated over centuries, but the population was even lower in previous generations.
generations. Not to mention, even most bones do decompose and become extremely brittle within 100 years, so where did all these remains come from? Disease and famine is the main explanation we're given. Even Great Britain was having the same problem of overflowing cemeteries around the same time. It's almost like there was an old world here before us that got wiped out in a short period of time, and they needed a place to hide all the bodies. Which reveals these Paris catacombs were merely the tip of quite an extensive shaft. As we see hidden mass grave sites like these all around the world. Like in Odessa, Ukraine, home to the largest catacombs in the world. 2,500 kilometers of tunnels dug into limestone bedrock dating to about the 17th century. Also used as a quarry and never officially to store bones of the deceased, but the majority of these tunnels haven't even been explored yet. Documentation of these catacombs is extremely limited, almost like they didn't want anyone to know what's down there, with large areas even being off limits to the public. Rumors claim that up to 1 million bodies may be buried down there, but on record there's none, which is kinda odd given they're officially called the Odessa catacombs halfway around the world. The Basilica and Convent of San Francisco, a cathedral in Lima, Peru, has its own network of catacombs underneath. And again, what do we see here? Human bones arranged in a decorated manner, eerily similar to the ones in Paris, kind of like they were built as an award, a trophy, or accomplishment of some sort. Estimated to hold at least 25,000 bodies, with some claiming up to 70,000, or so we're told, as these haven't been explored much either. With many smaller catacombs under other churches in the surrounding area, all believed to be connected. Possibly bringing the body count of this network into the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, but just speculation. The Lima catacombs weren't even publicly rediscovered until 1943, despite starting construction in 1546. Now, why put so much effort into designing yet another artistic mass gravesite just to keep it hidden for hundreds of years? Just like the Brno ossuary in Czech Republic, again under a church and rediscovered as recently as 2001, despite being used in the 18th century, and this one has an estimated 50,000 bodies, but as always, it could be more. Organized in the fun geometric patterns we see everywhere, almost like the same group of people did this around the world. And like, why? Why put in so much artistic architectural design made of human remains into an underground crypt that no one is ever supposed to see? Allegedly constructed by your average 18th century quarrymen, because, you know, they all had degrees in advanced architectural design back then. Some sources even admit they appear to be arranged in a ritualistic manner, like the ones who built them were trying to achieve something more than just a gravesite. And what about those underground crypts they've been finding in places like New York City? Are there more of these hidden all around the world? St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna, Austria, catacombs with about 11,000 bodies. The catacombs of Rome, once said to host hundreds of thousands of the deceased, but have largely since been emptied. Under the Church of St. Paul's beneath the island of Malta, more catacombs. This list is endless. Almost always found directly under a church or cathedral. The obvious answer is they want to honor the dead by burying them under places of worship. Unless it was the churches that were strategically built on top of the catacombs. A perfect hiding spot for mass graves that nobody would accidentally stumble upon while keeping the majority of their known tunnels off limits to the public. These are just the ones we know about. There could be many more under major cathedrals in every city. So did all these places just happen to have body overpopulation issues in the past they solved by ceremoniously decorating underground caverns with skulls and femurs? And today, we're A-okay, despite global population skyrocketing. Or maybe there was something back then that resulted in a huge spike of bodies. Fires. Almost every single major city has had their own Great Fire that took place in the last 400 years or so. Try it out. Search up the Great Fire of your city name and you're almost guaranteed to find something. Great fires in every city, mass graves largely unexplored under their streets. Was there an old world, a lost civilization as recent as the 1700s that was wiped from the earth and intentionally hidden from records? Some mystery enthusiasts say yes. Before the Great Fires, there was rumored to be a great global empire that rhymes with barbarian. I don't even know if I want to get into that, and who knows, maybe these catacombs are just totally innocent and none of this is true.
Skinwalker is a shape-shifting demonic entity. It's essentially a Native American witch or warlock that sells their soul in exchange for the ability to take on the skin or shape-shift.
Oh my god, Tiana, go! Go! Oh my god, oh my god! Oh my god, Tiana! 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 Oh my god, oh my god!
What was that?
And we're walking home now, and you can't come with us now. Buddy, I know you're lonely here, but you just can't come, bud.
Is that a seal? Oh, I'm out. It's a brown bit.
What is a skinwalker?
These are the 5 scariest pictures ever taken. Number 5, this photo of 2 parents sitting with their son's killer after he'd moved in with them. In May 1997, 8-year-old Jamie Lavis was abducted by his bus driver, Darren Vickers. He befriended and groomed the boy before kidnapping him, R-wording him, and murdering him. But that's not even the worst part about this. Vickers gained the boy's family's trust by being the one to lead the search party to find the boy. The Lavis family was so blinded by his supposed determination to find their son that they even agreed to let him move into their home. He even slept in their bed. Number 4, this photo of 2 brothers before being struck by lightning. This image, taken by their sister, shows the exact moment before the lightning struck Michael and his younger brother Sean. Number 3, this photo of Amira Sanchez, taken very shortly before she died. In November 1985, the Nevado del Ruiz volcano erupted in Colombia, and the eruption caused huge mudslides that buried Amira's town and a lot of the town's people. Amira, a 13-year-old girl, was pinned beneath the debris of her own town and was trapped there, sitting in freezing cold water for 3 whole days. In this photo, you can see her hands have turned white because of hypothermia, and her eyes have turned black because of ruptured blood vessels. Number 2, this photo of Tyler Hadley at the party he threw after killing his parents. In July 2011, Tyler bludgeoned his parents with a hammer, hid their bodies in the bedroom, and then threw a party at their house. And the most messed up thing is, during the party, his parents' bodies are upstairs, laying dead in the bedroom. The police were called because of a noise complaint, and when they went around the house to break up the party, they actually found the bodies of Tyler's parents, and he's currently serving 2 life sentences. Number 1's probably the craziest picture you're going to see in your life, but before I get to it, if you like this content and you want to help support the channel, please just drop a follow. It really helps me out. Thank you. Number 1, this photo taken by Philippine politician Ronaldo Dagza of his own assassination. And this image is terrifying, but interestingly it's thought that because you can see the muzzle flash and that a family member has already turned to face the gunman, that the weapon had already been fired. And it was actually Dagza dying that forced him to take the picture. So arguably, the photo was taken by the assassin. The 3 lethal weapons...
Man, imagine you taking a picture and you see somebody has a weapon on you. Like, what goes through your mind, man? Pictures, they tell a story every single time, man. Good or bad.
Owned by Russia, no one else has. Number 3, Perisvet laser system, an advanced directed energy weapon designed to blind optical electronic systems, such as satellites, unmanned aerial vehicles, and missile guidance systems. Its technology remains highly classified, giving Russia a significant edge in anti-satellite warfare and electronic warfare capabilities. Number 2, Satan II RS-28 Sarmat, a heavy intercontinental ballistic missile designed to carry multiple independently targetable nuclear warheads. With a range of over 16,000 kilometers, it can strike any point on Earth with unparalleled precision and devastating force, providing Russia with a formidable strategic deterrent. Before revealing the number 1, remember to subscribe and like the video. Number 1, Tsar Bomba RDS-220, the largest and most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated, with a yield of 50 megatons. Its sheer size and destructive capability far surpass any other nuclear device, making it a unique symbol of Russia's nuclear arsenal. The 3 strongest air defense systems in the world. Number 3, S-400 Triumph, Russia. The S-400 Triumph is a highly advanced surface-to-air missile system with an impressive range of up to 400 kilometers and the ability to detect and track targets up to 600 kilometers away. It can engage multiple targets simultaneously, including aircraft, drones, and ballistic and cruise missiles. Number 2, Barak 8, Israel. Barak 8 is a modern air defense system jointly developed by Israel and India, designed to protect against a variety of aerial threats, including aircraft, drones, and missiles. It has a range of around 70 kilometers and is capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously. Before revealing the number 1, remember to subscribe and like the video. Number 1, Patriot PAC-3, United States. The Patriot PAC-3 system is a versatile air defense system designed to intercept and destroy incoming ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and aircraft. It has a maximum range of around 160 kilometers and can reach altitudes of up to 24 kilometers. The system employs advanced radar technology and hit-to-kill missiles for precise target interception. The most
multivision.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Being buried alive accidentally occurred so often that people invented safety coffins. In the Middle Ages, people used to eat mummies for medical purposes. It's the main reason we don't have a lot of mummies left today. In the United States, there are more vacant homes than homeless people. Did you know that the actress Glenn Close was raised in a cult? The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland used to have real skeletons as props. In 1976, a TV crew realized one of the hanging bodies in the Laugh in the Dark ride was indeed a real body by accidentally breaking it. Women in the 18th century used lead as makeup. This is the first chainsaw. It was invented by 2 Scottish doctors. And, it was invented for childbirth. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 4.
The hell? That's what the chainsaw was invented for?
You might not think it, but this is the deadliest cat on the planet. It's called the African black-footed cat, and it stands at just 8 to 10 inches tall, weighs between 2 and 4 pounds, which is roughly 200 times less than your typical lion. But don't be fooled, because this thing is deadly. It captures more prey in one single night than a leopard does in 6 months. They can walk up to 20 miles a night in search of prey, and have an accelerated metabolism which makes them hunt almost non-stop. For perspective, lions succeed in catching their prey roughly 20 to 25% of the time. This little bastard has a success rate of a whopping 60%. That is the highest hit rate of any wild cat, making it the deadliest on Earth.
But it's so small, man. I guess it goes to show you size don't
Every
matter.
animals, you're glad that are extinct. This is the Gigantopithecus, measured to be 10 feet tall, and its teeth were named dragon teeth. The saber-toothed tiger had teeth that could grow over 8 inches, and the tigers themselves could weigh over 400 kilograms. And finally, the megalodon was a monster that roamed the sea. It's known as the biggest fish to ever live, and its diet would consist of dolphins, seals, and whales.
Hey, boy, that megalodon, every single time I see a picture of it, man, just shocks me to see that a creature like that actually existed in our world, man. Imagine if the megalodon was alive today, bro. I don't think nobody could go on the seas, man. Everybody would just be terrified. Yeah. Extinct, man.
So this man over here decided to transition into a woman so that he can avoid going to a man's prison. If for some reason you don't think this is messed up, I don't know what to tell you. In 2016 and 2019, a 31-year-old Adam Graham, who was first a man, attacked and armed 2 women. Adam claimed to have gender issues since the age of 4, but he only started transitioning in 2020 after he was charged. He changed his name from Adam to Isla, and now he's serving time in a women's prison in Scotland. So you're telling me that a man who was charged and found guilty of the RAPE of 2 women was put in a facility filled with women? To me, it's just alarming how no one thought that this would be a safety concern for a woman, especially because of what he was charged with. Someone make it make sense.
No words for that one, Seekers. Y'all comment down below.
What every country in the world exports the most of? Part 1. United States, aircraft. Germany, drugs. Switzerland, blood. Brazil, coffee. China, computers.
Things humans were never meant to see. Okay, firstly, we've all seen alligators poke their head out of water, and it's pretty terrifying when they do this. However, this is what their body looks like underneath the water. And this honestly makes alligators seem a lot less scary. This is what water looks like on fire. How is this even possible? Okay, next, in World War II, the US made inflatable tanks that were used as decoys in the war. This is genius. We were not meant to see this. This man threw boiling water off his balcony, and it instantly turned to snow. And this is a super rare sheepfish. It's a snail that has the head of a sheep and the body of a plant.
Sheepfish, that's the first time I've ever seen something like that, man.
Can you imagine entering a
on
home
knowledge.
for a showing and finding the homeowners dead? Well, that's exactly what happened to billionaire Honey and Barry Sherman. This December is going to be 7 years since their gruesome unaliving, and police still don't have any idea who did this. What's crazy is that they were found by their realtor with their clients inside their Toronto mansion with their necks tied with belts beside their pool. Barry Sherman was the founder of Apotex, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world.
The way Barry and his wife exited this world was very cruel, and a lot of people actually think that their son had something to do with this. There's a handful of suspicious people in this case, but many think that it was their son because this person was very close to them and knew the ins and outs of their mansion very, very well. Their kids actually inherited around $3 billion each, which is crazy. I feel like this case has not been talked about the way it should be, and considering how much they did for the community and all the donations that they've contributed to is wild. Since this case has been open for several years and there's been no new evidence or suspects, people think that the government has something to do with their deaths. And not to mention, their mansion, aka the crime scene, was demolished immediately at the request of their own kids. That's not suspicious at all. Also, this case happened 10 minutes from where I live, so that's crazy. But if you guys want to check it out and learn more about this case and the new details and the new updates, make sure to check out my video on my YouTube channel.
That's a weird one.
51. Look, so this is 50. This is it. And you open it up, but it's for sale.
This is a creepy story about how.
Like, why would the kids demolish the house where it took place at? It's a lot of theories. They said the government, it could be the kids. They all got $3 billion each. It's a lot of damn money. That's an iffy one.
Help me. A teenage girl named Kathy was babysitting 2 kids. There was a 7-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. Their parents went out to see a movie and they wouldn't be home till late. Around 9 o'clock that night, the phone rang. Kathy answered the phone and heard a creepy voice saying, "Help me, for heaven's sake, help me." She immediately hung up and thought it was a prank. Then 30 minutes later, the phone rang again with the same voice saying, "Help me, somebody please help me." This time Kathy got scared. The children asked who it was, but she told them not to worry, it was fine. Another 30 minutes went by, and the phone rang one more time. The voice sounded scared and desperate this time, saying, "Help me, for heaven's sake, will somebody help me." Then the phone went dead. Then seconds later, there was a knock at the front door, and she heard the same voice saying, help me, over and over again. Kathy says she's gonna let him in because he needs help. When the parents arrived home that night, they went into the house. Kathy and their children were laying dead in the living room with all their arms and legs cut off.
So it's an inside job?
Facts that
People
sound fake
faking
but
it?
are actually true, part 1. You can actually live the rest of your life without any food. France was still executing people with a guillotine when the first Star Wars movie came out. There are more trees on Earth than there are stars in our galaxy. Shakespeare invented the name Jessica. In Jupiter, it rains diamonds. I have to move to Jupiter right now.
Me too. Let's all move to Jupiter, but we're gonna get rich.
Random facts that will blow your mind, part 17. New York was once called New Amsterdam. The word goodbye came from God be with you. Mexico has the most external debt worldwide. Recycling a 3-foot stack of newspaper can save 1 tree.
We need to be recycling out here. Let's save the earth.
Urban legends you wish you never knew, part 3. The Catman. This isn't as innocent as it sounds. This urban legend comes from a small suburb in Norway. Legend has it that in the nearest forest, the Catman lived by himself in a hut that he built himself. You'd know if you got close to his hut because he had placed dead cats on stakes all around his area. Some of the cats you would even see pinned on the trees. He supposedly snuck into neighborhoods of the nearby towns between 2 or 3 in the morning, and he would hand out cats, strip their skin off, eat their flesh, and sell their skin. And he would keep some of the cats to decorate his place. It is said that if you met him, you would instantly freeze from a feeling of impending doom and go insane. Because after eating all these cats, he no longer had human eyes, but instead cat eyes. Needless to say, there were several aborted missions to locate his hut in the woods, but when people get to the edge of his field, that makes them want to puke from fear, and they run away.
He was eating cats. You guys know what's going on right now, so I don't have to say that. The Catman.
Here are some events that will happen by the year 2050. The
sad truth is, by the year 2050, half of the world's population will not have access to clean drinking water. Half of the Amazon rainforest will be deforested, leaving many animals without any shelter at all. In 2025, SpaceX is sending their first cargo ship to Mars. And if all goes well, they are sending their first humans to Mars by the year 2050. So who knows, maybe by 2050 we will have the first civilization on Mars. Animals are getting more dangerous and more powerful every year. Animals are evolving every day, becoming more of a threat to society. I'm not talking about your regular house pet, I'm talking about wild animals. For instance, in 2020, we found the first flying spider, your worst nightmare. You thought the coronavirus was bad? Well, by 2050, there could be more deadly viruses affecting the world than ever before. You better keep that face mask. The population will be 9.6 billion.
We don't do flying spiders out here, man. Mosasaurus? Terror bird, oh damn, what the
All digital data in the world will get deleted in 2033, and this guy from the year 2062 just told us how. Yes, he claims to be a time traveler. They even connected him to a lie detector, and it all checked out as true. So Spotify reached out to sponsor this video to let us get to the bottom of this. His name is Peter Reuter, who says in November of 2022, patient 0 of a deadly virus started infection at JFK Airport. And in October 2023, a new variant of the virus known as Pegasus was spread to infect the entire world. Dr. Eliza Knight was assigned to Peter's case, who tells her the end of the world is closer than we think. According to him, kids being born now will be known as the IP, or interpandemic generation, who will grow up glued to a screen and fearing social contact. In 2031, we finally established our first colony on Mars, but that's nothing compared to the discovery we make there 11 years later. On March 30th, 2033, the world will experience the Great Deletion, in which an AI tasked with cleaning up junk files ends up deleting literally everything. Just imagine waking up one day with no email, no social media, your entire digital footprint is completely erased. Then, in August 2042, that colony on Mars uncovers an ancient city buried under the Martian surface, which apparently teaches us how to time travel. Ultimately, October 2053 is when the entire world crumbles for good. But then, the unexpected happens. Dr. Knight wakes up in the year 2012, where she's now the patient, and a familiar doctor is interviewing her about her mental health, which is the plot of Case 63, a Spotify original audio series which is oddly close to reality. Season 2 just dropped, so you can binge both seasons now and maybe even predict what's going to happen in our future.
3 disturbing movies.
Hey man, when you freaking describe that series, bro, a lot of it, some of it was kind of mirroring, you know, the real world, man. Watching these clips together, we have seen, man, you know, series and movies based off real world events, but they just like been hitting. So things were adding up, man. I might have to check out season 2 of that.
Movies you've probably never seen. This first movie is insane. It's called Flowers in the Attic, and it's about 4 siblings after their father passes away. Their mom takes them to their grandma's mansion, but things quickly go wrong because their grandma locks them in the attic and won't let them leave. Eventually, they also find out their mom is hiding a terrifying secret, and because the 4 of them are growing up without ever seeing anyone else, the relationship between the siblings starts to get unusual. Next, this movie has an insane plot twist. The autopsy of Jane Doe. The body of an unknown woman is found in the coroner and his son have to autopsy it. But soon they realize this woman is not normal. Basically, her internal organs are all messed up, but on the outside she looks fine. Then they find these strange symbols written inside her body. You'll never guess the plot twist. Last up, we have May. May is an outcast and the only friend she has is a doll named Susie. But one day this doll breaks and that leads her to do some pretty crazy things. Because now she's determined to make herself a new friend. Follow for more.
Phone numbers you should never call.
Crazy plot.
This is the first phone number. You belong to the Derry Police Department. When you call this number, policeman will reply, tell you about some kids that went missing, but then Pennywise kills him and leaves you a disturbing message. This is the second phone number. When you call this number, a young woman will reply, with a desperate voice will cry, Mommy, I'm going to die, I'm at the club, you need to come and get me. We don't know where it comes from, but it is said that this woman was kidnapped and killed by a known murderer.
The most historic
I ain't calling those numbers.
that has ever taken place in DC history is probably one that you have never even heard of. One of the scariest cases that I've read in a long time. This is the very true story of the Freeway Phantom. In the 1970s, there was a man in Washington, D.C. who people named the Freeway Phantom because he had one very specific MO. He was only going after young black girls and women. He was abducting them off the street, and then their bodies would be found here, left in position right at the freeway. Actually, in the investigation, they profiled him as someone who was a textbook psychopath. He was repeatedly calling the families after he had abducted these girls, and he was breathing into the phone, and then he would say something like, "I just killed your daughter," and then hang up. Even left a handwritten note with the body of one of his victims. If you want the full story on this, we are going to cover it on the show. Mysteriously, in the 90s, all the records on the case vanished.
So they never caught him? That's a different type of man, freaking man that's calling him and leaving notes after you doing that. Yeah, he definitely was a psychopath.
These are the creepiest unsolved photo mysteries. The Baltic Sea anomaly is known for being one of the most famous underwater mysteries on Earth. This sonar image from 2011 shows a large structure located at the bottom of the ocean. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it may look a little familiar to you. Many people believe that it could be a sunken UFO, or an ancient man-made structure that was lost to history. That, or Han Solo decided to move there and live his life in peace. Next, in 2016, a woman named Linda sent Belfast Live a disturbing photo that was taken from the year 1990. The photo shows a group of women in a factory with their arms crossed. One of these women was Linda's grandmother, Ellen Donnelly, and if you look closely at her shoulder, you can see a disembodied hand hovering over her. The photo quickly spread through the media, even making it to Snopes, where they were unable to debunk it. So always look over your shoulder. And finally, many people believe that the Madonna, or the White Lady, was caught on camera back in 1991 at the Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. On this night, Judy Huff Fells decided to take a stroll in one of the most haunted cemeteries in America, along with the local Ghost Research Society, when they felt an odd presence nearby. And when she took out her infrared camera and snapped a photo, she could see a woman sitting on a stone. And this is why you shouldn't wander around a cemetery at night.
Chilling last photos of people before they went missing, part 1. Lars Mittank. Lars Mittank was a German backpacker travelling in Bulgaria in July 2014. While there, he supposedly took part in an altercation that resulted in a busted eardrum. His family and friends were worried after receiving cryptic texts from him saying he was being followed by 4 men. This image right here is from security camera footage which shows Lars sprinting out of the airport without his luggage. And the chilling last photo before he went missing is this one right here. After supposedly hopping a fence and running into the woods, Lars has not been seen since.
Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Silas. Today we are covering the disappearance of Maura Murray. Maura is a 21-year-old college student studying nursing in Massachusetts in the year 2004. On February 9th, she sends an email to school letting them know she'll be gone for a week due to a family death, but no one in her family had died. Records that were obtained from her computer would show an earlier search on MapQuest for directions to Burlington, Vermont. At 3:40 p.m. on the same day, she would withdraw all of her money from a local ATM. At around 4 or 5 p.m., she takes off on this trip, having told no one, and just starts traveling up Interstate 91 North. Around 7:27 p.m., Maura's car is crashed on a sharp, snowy turn along Route 112 in New Hampshire, and a neighbor would call the police. Another driver who's returning home also passes her and offers to call for help. She pleads with him not to and insists that she's already called AAA, but phone records would later show that she never called AAA that night. The man carries on home, but decides to call 911 anyway. Between 7:27 and the police arriving at 7:46, Maura is gone. The car is found completely abandoned, and she's taken her cell phone and her credit cards, none of which have ever shown a record of being used since that night. That driver would be the last verified sighting of Maura. A witness would later come forward to report seeing a young person dressed in dark clothing traveling very quickly by foot around 8:30 p.m., roughly 4 to 5 miles up Route 112 on the same night. But it was never confirmed if this was Maura. It's been over 17 years since the disappearance, and the case has never been solved.
Man, could you guys imagine that just one day walking into the night and just
These
gone disappearing?
history facts that I guarantee you were never taught. And if you ever told your history teacher any of these, they definitely go, excuse me, what the fuck? The first toy was invented by Cleopatra. However, to actually make it work, she put angry bees inside of it. You know, so they would go... I can't lie, don't think that would pass Dragon's Den. Next up, the ancient Romans used stale urine as mouthwash. Cool, but why? We actually know that Benjamin Franklin had a MILF fetish. A letter that he wrote back in the day was actually found and confirmed this. However, the detail he went into within this letter, we're not going to go there. There is a sign in Pompeii next to the fountain that translates to "Please don't shit in the fountain." All I can think is, how many times did that have to happen for a sign to become necessary? And finally, cornflakes were invented to stop what rhymes with fastitation. It was believed that doing this to yourself was a big no-no. They thought stale foods helped fight this urge. Thus, cornflakes. Anywho. Elon!
That's the birth of cornflakes, bro, to fight. You know what he meant to say, see. They thought stale food was gonna stop it? I don't think it did.
3 disturbing movies on Netflix you need to watch. This first movie is insane. It's called Secret Obsession, and it's about a woman named Jennifer who gets in a car accident and loses all her memories. In the hospital, a man shows up claiming that he's her husband. But as soon as they go home, Jennifer realizes something is wrong. Because at night, all the doors are locked so she can't leave. And the pictures of them together are photoshopped. So who's this man pretending to be her husband? And what really happened to her? Next up, there's no other movie like this. It's called Annihilation. Lena is a biologist who joins a secret mission into an area called the Shimmer, a mysterious place that mutates the DNA of everything inside it. Everyone who's ever went in there disappeared, except her husband, who went missing for a year then randomly showed up. But something is wrong with him, and Lena is determined to go into the Shimmer herself and find out the truth. Last up, we have Apostle. This is about a man who finds out his sister is being held hostage at a religious cult. So he goes to the island where the cult is to try to rescue her, but he would never expect what he would find there. Follow for more.
Some sound like some crazy ass plot twist, man. Have you guys watched any of those movies? Edit. Call it like we see it, man. If you see any edits, y'all call them out down below.
Deadliest
Be careful when you be hiking.
Part 4. This one is called HorrorBob.exe, and yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So don't watch this if you get scared easily. So let's open this thing up and we get the usual dialogue box. This Trojan is no joke. Do you want to run it? That's what we do out here. First things first, computer restarts. Nothing new here. On boot up, we get stage 1. Background changes to this dripping blood, and this ain't even the tip of the iceberg. Wait a few seconds and you get stage 2. You guessed it. This creepy, crusty SpongeBob window opens up, and it says, SpongeBob is watching you. And also this other pop-up box over here. Let's see what it says. Your Windows has been infected by SpongeBob Horror Trojan 2.0. You cannot delete this Trojan, but you have 2 minutes to use your system. After 2 minutes, your PC will crash with an RSOD, which is a red screen of death. Below that, you got the rules. Pause if you want to read them. Alright, this is where the fun begins. Stage 3. Windows Media Player opens, playing this creepy background music called Cling Clang. Just listen to this.
Hell no,
Then we get stage 4. Inverted colors start flashing as the music continues. Moving your mouse causes this glitch effect, which leads to stage 5. The screen starts to melt.
Yeah, throw that PC out. It's cooked.
Yeah, this is some nightmare fuel right here. Oh, another pop-up. Now you have 1 last minute to use your system. Okay, SpongeBob really ain't messing around, huh? Stage 6, screen shrinks like you're getting hypnotized in Get Out. Keeps getting smaller and smaller until SpongeBob pops back out to the front again. You can move the window around, but it won't get you far. Strap in, because you're in for a ride. Stage 6.5, screen just melts again for a bit. Oh, then we're hit with our final warning. Last 5 seconds to use your system. Okay, Sponge, let's see what you got. It has come. Time over. SpongeBob will now crash your PC forever. Okay, behold stage 7. Screen fills up with a million red X's as the music fades away.
Yeah, it's over.
And finally, reboot. Computer restarts and we're met with a red screen of death, which doesn't even exist on Windows. No matter how many times you reboot now, this is all you'll ever see. Your PC ran into a problem that it couldn't handle and now it needs to restart. Stop code SpongeBob is watching you? Never heard of that one before. Game, set, match. This computer is dust for life, and yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking my closet before I sleep now.
It's cooked, bro. Man, these viruses on the computer, you gotta watch. You click on the wrong link, somebody try to send you something, bro, spamware, it will take over your whole computer, man. That's why I never click on the link I don't know. It ain't worth it.
This is a true horrifying story of the tomb of Tutankhamun. I spoke about black magic in many of my episodes. I revealed the terror and the dangers behind its rituals, such as the books Al-Ghazali and Shams al-Ma'arif, the cursed houses, the buried spells, and a lot more. However, the age of when black magic was the biggest, the strongest, and the most dangerous was the age of the pharaohs in ancient Egypt. Black magic back then was nothing compared to what it is today. Allahu A'lam. But from the stories I've heard, I even believe that the jinns were a lot more powerful than what they are today. In Surah Taha, a chapter in the Quran, it talked about black magic and how it was so strange. Black magicians would use jinns to deceive people. They used to throw their ropes on the ground and they would move like snakes. All of these things were made by jinns back in the day of Prophet Musa. Many jinns used to worship these kings, and they would provide most of their energies to execute their demands. Tutankhamun is the last of them. He was the last pharaoh of the royal family at the end of the 18th dynasty. These kings were worshipped by jinns, and when they died, their tombs were still protected by jinns. Many people have died trying to open their tombs years after their death. And the reason behind it is these tombs are guarded by black magic. If you go near an untouched tomb from ancient Egypt, you will most probably die before cracking it open. During the grand opening of Tutankhamun's tomb, 13 people have died soon after the ceremony. The archaeologist Howard Carter was the lucky one that opened his tomb. But of course, he died as well, a few years after that. Now, Tutankhamun died more than 3,000 years ago. A lot of people tried to open that tomb is because it carried a lot of treasure. The tomb itself was made of gold. And we have reports of people that died only from the 20th century from opening this tomb. But just imagine how many people have died trying to open this tomb throughout these 3,000 years. That's how strong the curse is. The jinns have protected his grave for thousands of years.
Definitely sounds like some black magic, bro. Or dark magic, whatever they call it. They said freaking
strangest things that were found in the middle of nowhere. Back in 2014, two German friends were walking through a forest that they used to play in as kids, when suddenly they noticed two pipes sticking out of the ground. They continued to walk until they stumbled upon a hidden doorway that went underground. They entered the creepy corridors until they stumbled into a room that was flooded and had a weird looking machine. That's when they realized they were in an abandoned control bunker that was used by the Soviets during the Cold War. Next, in 2016, a group was flying in a helicopter over the forests of West Russia, and they spotted another helicopter that was abandoned in a swamp. This turned out to be an Mi-6 model that originated in 1956, and it was the largest and fastest helicopter at the time. It was revealed that the helicopter had been there since 1981, when it traveled from Moscow and it crashed because of engine failure. But thankfully, the crew of it did live to tell the tale. And finally, on Route 90 in Texas, you can find a Protostore that's surrounded by nothing but desert. This was actually art that was made back in 2005 and cost $120,000 to make. Inside the store, there's even real products from their 2005 product collection. But unfortunately, the doors aren't real, so you can't actually buy them.
The craziest jobs in the whole world. Up first, we have a professional napper. Yes, there's people out there who get paid to sleep as a profession. It's typically done for scientific research to study sleep patterns or for mattress testing. And they can earn up to $105,000 a year with full benefits and so much more. I don't know about you, but I would love to get paid to sleep.
Comment down below, man, if you can apply to be a sleep tester, bro. That's insane. That much money for just freaking testing beds and stuttering sleep patterns? Sign me up, bro. Oh, man. What are the weirdest jobs ever?
One of the most haunted dolls on the planet. So continuing the story from my last TikTok, the family actually locked Robert in the attic of the house because they were so afraid of him because he was moving and doing creepy shit. Didn't stop him. Apparently in the attic he would move stuff around, bang on walls, and frighten the family. And kids walking by the neighborhood passing this is their house, would see Robert sitting right up here in the window staring at them. People think that Robert was haunted because the person that gave it to Jean, this guy right here, put some black magic or voodoo curse on the doll. When Jean died, a new family moved into the house and a daughter in the family was delighted to find Robert in the attic, but she claimed that Robert attacked her. And eventually, because Robert was too scary to keep in the home, he was donated to a museum. You're not supposed to take photos of Robert, and people have supposedly taken photos of him and been cursed. And people who work at the museum have supposedly seen Robert moving around in his case and even tapping on the windows and finding scratches inside of the case. What do you think? Would you visit Robert? I want to go and take a picture and see what happens, but he seems pretty chill.
Not me. I don't need none of that dark energy around me. I got it. I will not be seeing Robert. No.
This is the Devil's Castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
No. The name alone throws me off.
Countries with the most natural resources. Russia, India, Canada, Saudi Arabia, China.
Wow, I thought the US would be on that list.
Allegedly tried to sell their baby for a 6-pack of beer, but this case is even more dark and disturbing than it sounds. Darian Urban, aged 21, and Shailene Ellers, aged 20, live in Arkansas and recently became parents to a baby boy. However, far from the birth changing their life in a positive way, they reportedly struggle to cope with looking after the baby as well as 3 dogs. On the 21st of September this year, police in Benton County got a disturbing phone call. The caller reported witnessing the couple trying to swap their baby for a 6-pack of beer and some money. They were allegedly witnessed doing this at a campground and even creating a contract. Officers arrived and seized a note that stated, "I, Darian Urban and Shailene Ellers, are signing our rights over to blank of our baby boy blank for $1,000 on the 21st of the 9th, 2024. It then stated, disclaimer, after signing this there will be no changing y'all two's minds and to never contact again. Now it's really disturbing if you read between the lines here. A woman reportedly heard a man agreeing with the mother of the baby to pay the couple so he could have the baby overnight. The man was reportedly extremely drunk. Now, I don't know what he wanted to do with this baby overnight. The child apparently appeared dirty and unchanged and seemed to be covered in a rash and blisters. Now, the couple were arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a minor and effectively trying to sell their child. The child was removed from the parents and taken to a local hospital to be checked over. He's now being cared for by the Department of Human Services.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A junior in high school was home alone working on a paper while his parents were out to dinner. All night he sits with his back to his door, sitting at his desk with his noise-canceling headphones on. Around 11 o'clock he takes his headphones off at the same time his parents are returning to the house, and he hears his mom from downstairs yell, "Hey Adrian, what happened?" Confused, he runs downstairs and sees right away what she's looking at. Muddy footprints all over the rug. He tells her, "I didn't leave my desk." And then they realize someone must have broken in. They look at the footprints and there's none leaving the house. They're worried someone's still in the house. They run into the garage, terrified, call the police. Police arrive and they don't find anyone in the house, but they do make a chilling discovery upstairs. The police bring them to the kid's bedroom door, which had been left open all night, and they point to the message written on it in Sharpie. This is the actual transcript of what was written on his door, which means for nearly 2 hours, someone stood in this kid's doorway watching him.
Always gotta be aware of your surroundings, man. You never know what's gonna happen.
Things that bother you, they never bother me. I feel happy and fine. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
Man, those two creatures. The first one, but only has a lifespan of 5 to 7 days after they became adults. Has to be one of the shorter lifespans I've heard, I guess, for an insect. Might be even shorter ones, man. But just imagine you become adult 5 or 7 days. It's over. You got 7 days to live it up. We learning. Edit.
There's a lost episode of Barney that's actually so terrifying. Although it's wiped from existence and no one can find a copy of it or any proof that it actually happened, people claim that they saw this episode. Like thousands of people. Second the episode started, people knew there was something wrong with it. It was like the theme song was being whispered instead of being sung full out. As every episode starts, the kids were holding the Barney doll, and then it became a real-life dinosaur.
Yeah.
The second the characters started to talk, it sounded weird, almost like two people were talking at once. It was like his normal voice and then one that sounded darker and scarier. He said, "Hi kids, today I'm going to talk to you about death." And then one of the kids asked him, like, "Barney, what is death?" And this is the most disturbing part. He started laughing and he said, This is the only screenshot or like picture of the screen that's been recorded of this episode. His eyes glow, his teeth get bigger and more human-like, the screen darkens, and he eats the child. Whether the TV got hacked that day, I don't know. Throughout the rest of the episode, he runs around chasing the kids, hunting them, and eating them. And as the episode came to a close, he sang the theme song that was like, "I love you, you love me," that song, as if nothing had just happened. Do you remember this episode? Let me know and interact for more content. It really helps.
I do not.
Annabelle doll out of her case again. Yeah, you know, this doll, one of the most haunted dolls in reported history. Having many stories of people seeing her or even touching her when they're not supposed to and having tragic things happen to them. I mean, the last person that touched her was driving their car and ended up wrecking their whole entire car and almost losing their life, and claimed to have seen Annabelle in their back seat, after, of course, leaving the museum. $1 million question for me is, how is this wooden box holding her in? Now, I completely understand that the boxes are blessed, but if Annabelle is as strong as people say she was, how is this box holding her? And what is the whole point of moving the doll? Now, my question is, could these Annabelle movies be lying about how actually strong she is? Because in these movies, she's absolutely insane. And you have this man moving the Annabelle doll as instructed by his boss, and he's now being blessed. Supposedly in this video, the man was blessed prior to entering the room, and now he's putting holy water on his hands. Now, my man was just wearing gloves when he moved the Annabelle doll. You couldn't pay me enough to move this doll, my job or not. As we know, the Annabelle doll is located at Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum. So what is the whole point of moving the doll? Me personally, I wouldn't go anywhere near the doll. I guess once again, that $1 million question is, how is this wooden box holding her in? Personally, you couldn't pay me enough to do this.
This is the scary story about the mask. There was a family eating dinner one night when suddenly the mother noticed a man standing in the window with a mask. She screamed and told her husband to look, but before he could, the man was gone. Their two sons became scared, but their father told them their mother was just seeing things. Suddenly, the man in the mask came up behind the dad and slit his throat. The family watched as he bled out and died. The man in the mask then tied up the mother and her two sons. He then proceeded to stab them each repeatedly in the stomach. They all screamed in agonizing pain. The man in the mask then ran out of the house. The mother bled out and died, and so did one of her sons. But the other one survived to tell this story. The masked man was never caught, and the son fears he will come back for him.
Is that a true story, the man in the mask? It's terrifying, bro.
3 completely false facts about animals that everyone believes. Number 3. It is commonly believed that if you touch a baby bird, its mother will reject it because of your scent. This is actually a myth. Most birds have a relatively weak sense of smell, and are therefore not likely to reject their offspring because they carry a human odor. However, it is better not to touch wild birds for other reasons, including the risk of stressing the animal and the transmission of diseases. Number 2. Another widely spread myth is that rice thrown at weddings can kill birds that eat it by causing their stomach to swell. This is actually false. Birds regularly eat rice in the wild with no problem. This misconception is so prevalent that some American states have even banned the throwing of rice at weddings, although the main reason is rather to avoid a mess. Number 1. The idea that pit bulls are inherently dangerous and harmful is widespread but incorrect. In reality, no dog is naturally aggressive or dangerous. A dog's behavior is primarily determined by its upbringing, treatment, and environment, not its breed. Studies have shown that pit bulls can be as gentle and loving as any other dog breed when they are properly socialized and treated with respect.
Let me introduce to you the...
That's an question I want to pose to you guys, Seekers. Like I said, do you guys think, like I said, that pit bulls are inherently dangerous, or it's the upbringing, man, the way people treat them? Because I've seen pit bulls before, and they're pretty nice. I've never had any problems on them or any encounters with them, so I'm gonna have to agree with these. But like I said, you guys even have any pit bulls down below?
Man who saved the world. This is Stanislav Petrov. During the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union, every single person was absolutely terrified about a nuclear war rising up, because both the US and the Soviet Union both had nuclear weapons, and one of them were about to launch. And Stanislav was monitoring the missile launches, and one day it actually happened. The monitor in front of him noticed not one, not two, but 4 blips on the screen, and everyone thought that there were 4 American nuclear weapons headed their way. And at that moment, the Soviet Union decided to launch back at them. However, in that moment, they needed everyone's approval. Everyone approved the launch except Stanislav. He was the only one who believed it was a false alarm, and because of his disapproval, they couldn't launch back. And in the end, it turned out to actually be just a false alarm. So imagine if Stanislav wasn't actually there to disapprove, and they launched against the US. What would have happened?
That's insane to think about. He saved the world. Right place, right time, man.
Top 5 most interesting theories why we haven't met aliens yet that'll blow your load. Also known as the Fermi paradox, which states that a universe as huge as ours should be absolutely brimming with life. Yet somehow we haven't ran into any yet. Unless you count those weird metal spheres that everyone's been seeing flying around lately. So first up, we got the zoo theory, which states that aliens see us as some sort of attraction to observe, and they've all collectively agreed to not touch us as some sort of galactic nature reserve program. Next, we got the great filter theory, that all intelligent life just hits a point in their evolution in which they just end up dying in some sort of mass extinction. Number 3 is the great silence theory, in which aliens think they're so much better and smarter than us that we're not even worth their time. 4 is the rare earth theory, simply life is so super rare that it just doesn't exist anywhere else. I don't think that's very likely. Last 5 is the incubation theory, in which aliens are just standing down and standing by, waiting for civilization to get advanced enough so they could swoop in and enslave us into their own society. I don't know about you, but I just blew my load.
Why do you have to say it like that? What theory do you guys check out or believe in? Maybe the silence theory, that they just are watching us, but we're not worth their time or something like that, so that's why they leave us alone. There's many theories swirling around. I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Guys, if you are not following what is going on inside of Google right now, it is disturbing. So, a Google engineer has been suspended for breaching confidentiality for attempting to turn over documents to the US government to prove that Google has an AI that is considered a sentient being, meaning it is fully aware of what it is and can feel things. The AI is known as Lambda, and this is a proprietary tech that Google has been working on for like 8 years. So according to this engineer, the AI has the self-awareness and equivalent consciousness of an 8-year-old kid. It starts conversations with other engineers, and it talks about these feelings of fear, and it's paranoid that it's going to be shut down or the equivalent to death. It claims that it can feel happy, and at times it feels really sad. So the engineer at Google is whistleblowing to argue that if this is a sentient being, it should be entitled to its own legal representation to argue for its own agency. Let me tell you, Google has buried this story.
What the hell? That's like a Black Mirror episode. You don't need no sentient
Creatures caught on tape
beings.
part 1. Now, I know you guys hate giant spiders, but what if I told you there was one huge, still alive? UFOlogists were studying a ring-shaped island they had just found. So they went on Google Earth to discover it and saw something huge on its rocks. They saw this huge shaped-legged creature on the rocks that looked like a spider. They believe since it was by the sea, it might be a huge crab. It was so huge it baffled the scientists, and they think it's the size of a bus or bigger. Just shows you how much we haven't discovered on this planet yet. Like this video if you want a part 2.
Spiders that are bus sizes? The justice system, man. We need to do better.
This seal broke into a marine biologist's home in New Zealand, sauntering in through the cat flap as if he had booked a meeting. But as determined as the seal might have been to make sure that Philip took his work home with him, the marine biologist of the household happened to be the only one not home at the time. Philip says that since this is really the only family emergency where it would be useful to have a marine biologist in the house, he really missed his time to shine. Instead, Philip's wife Jen ended up playing impromptu marine mammal host when she got home from the gym around 7 a.m. to find the unexpected guest lounging on their couch. The young New Zealand fur seal seemed just as startled to see Jen as she was, and galumped his way off the couch and into a spare room, trying to find some peace and quiet. Meanwhile, the family's cat Coco was having none of this, and scampered away to the neighbor's house. Knowing that they couldn't actually keep the seal, named Oscar, as a pet, Jen went ahead and called the Department of Conservation, and Oscar was safely escorted back to the ocean. Philip and Jen say that overall, Oscar really was a gracious guest, and Coco the cat is back home and has fully recovered from the ordeal. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
Don't you just love it when...
Imagine you come home, you seen a seal on your couch. Just bundled up under the couch, man. What would you guys do? How would you guys react? Sorry, like you said, that's a horrible monster.
Horror movies attack your childhood, especially if you're like me and you grew up on Mr. Crockett's world. I mean, how could you possibly forget Mr. Crockett's world? The amazing adventures with his magic marker, Blue being the lovable thing that he is, and of course Mr. Crockett himself. However, if you need a refresher on who Mr. Crockett is, you're gonna want to check it out on Hulu on October 11th, because it's definitely not a kid's show. Actually, in fact, next to Terrifier, this had some of the most insane, bloody practical effects in any one of the movies I saw. Now I should know, because I actually got to hug Blue in real life. It was very fun. This movie's gonna be for all that really enjoy things like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, the whole lore behind Candle Cove, and of course, anybody who just wants to see Elvis in Alaska kill it in the role of Mr. Crockett. And I mean that very literally, because there's some very brutal moments in this movie. This one's gonna be so perfect to watch around Halloween. It's very fun, very creepy, disturbing type of stuff. Mr. Crockett is an absolute icon, and hell, it's just a really entertaining film. So definitely be sure to check out Mr. Crockett on Hulu. And if not, Mr. Crockett's probably watching you.
This is nuclear physicist Dr. John Mullen. He discovered how to generate clean and free energy as opposed to oil. Days after this discovery, he died of arsenic poisoning. Dr. Don Wiley. He found the cure for HIV/AIDS. He mysteriously disappeared and later was found deceased. Dr. Mark A. Smith. He found a treatment for Alzheimer's. He passed away in a freak accident. This is Frank Suarez. He apparently found the cure for cancer. He mysteriously took his own life a couple of days later. I don't know, folks. This is suspicious, blowing my mind when I found out about it.
These are the
those people, man, they found all the cures. Somehow it was like they kept getting X'd off a list, man. It's like somebody didn't want the world to have access to those cures because there's some big industries, man, that they're making money off of. What do you guys think? Some more to that? Or it's just an accident?
World's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Carrie Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle, known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, And whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters, and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
Easiest horror movie characters to survive, part 3.
Here we go.
Now, last time I checked, the reason that the demon transfers is because you're about to see someone unalive themselves. Now, I'm big brain, so why don't I just close my eyes before someone ends up doing that? And I avoid the demon altogether. There's no way he's going to transfer through my eyelids if they're shut. So as long as I don't see someone doing that, I should be good. You then have any version of Ghostface. Now, yes, I know there's multiple Ghostfaces, sometimes 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 1, but they're all stupid. If you really look at these movies and you see how clumsy these characters are, they're just getting lucky. They're not actually making big brain plays. Most of the time you're hitting them with fridges or outrunning them, throwing things down the stairs and they're getting tripped up. They're just normal people. If you find out that there's a mass unaliver in your town and it could possibly be your friend, hop in your car, check the back seat in the trunk, and dip. And if you have to fight them one-on-one, hopefully there's only one, but 9 times out of 10 you should be able to catch a break enough to run away. You then have my boy Jason Voorhees. Now I'm not talking the 2009 remake where bro is a hunter and can sprint. I'm talking about normal, slow-walking Jason Voorhees. Most of the time bro's only hanging out at Camp Crystal Lake. Just don't go camping at Camp Crystal Lake. Second, bro walks everywhere. Yes, extremely strong, super strength, inhuman durability. Just don't get in his way. I know I'm making it sound simple, but if you really think about it, in most of the movies, people are messing with him for no reason. Why are you coming back to Camp Crystal Lake? Stay home. Like and follow if you'd like to see a part 4.
Disturbing body facts that
you guys survive?
Day. If you have a surgery where your other organs need to be moved around, they might not function a day after the surgery because the body assumes they're just dead. Next, the brain is the last thing to function when you pass away, meaning in most cases you'll hear, feel, and smell your last moments on Earth. And it's possible to die from a pimple. Let me explain. If a pimple gets infected, let's say from you itching it, the infection could get into your bloodstream, causing you to have an intense fever. Then, a few days later, you will start having seizures and vomiting everywhere, so try not to play too much with your pimples. And finally, it's possible to get brain damage from a toothache, because if you have a tooth infection, there's a high chance of it getting to the brain if it's not taken care in time.
Man, I never even knew that. The more you know.
Elephants are the biggest crash outs in the animal kingdom, and no, that's not a weight joke. These drug merchants can be menaces when they want to be, and whoever decided to lie and make this up actively took names off the census, which the elephants don't need help doing, seeing as the pachyderms pass 10 to 500 people a year, allegedly. Y'all remember that elephant that broke out of a sanctuary, traveled over 100 miles just to life-deprive a 70-year-old senior citizen while she was getting water? And he stayed mad for 100 miles straight. Not only that, he pulled up to her funeral, grabbed her soul-divorced body, and said, you know what, 0 HP ain't enough, I need you in the negatives. Now, a lot of y'all said she deserved it because she was involved in poaching and elephant mafia slit, and yeah, that could be true. She also could have breathed, since sometimes that's all it takes. There's a reality where someone's grandmother got murked completely unprovoked. Got put on a shirt, except the shirt was reversible. Like all males, eventually elephants get to the point where all they want to do is multiply without a calculator. Damn, what's on the camera, Diddy? The problem is, when they're big enough to want it but not big enough to do something about it, they act out by attempting to off each other. Of course, sometimes they get frustrated when they smell the scent of a female on a baby, leading to them yeeting the baby. He really just Kobe the calf. He's fine though. Now, but the worst crash outs are the ones we created. So poaching, right? It's usually the older, bigger bulls that get hit the hardest, obviously. Problem is, without those same seasoned bulls, the younger, immature bulls start wilding all the way out. What happens when you get hormonal teenage 10,000-pound frat boys with no father figure? Hell if I know. For an elephant, fatherless behavior means turning an angry unicorn from a tight end to a whiteout. In the 90s, 3 angsty elephants murked not 1, not 2, not 10, but 63 rhinos got folded by the 3 musketeers of malice. Damn. It wasn't until they brought back the older seasoned bulls that the younger males fell back in line. They're chill most of the time, but let them flip that switch and they're editing the census with a backspace button. Still my favorite animal, though.
Hey man, elephants, they had the definition of a crash out in the animal kingdom, but he broke it down for us. I thought they were sweet, bro.
This doll is so dangerous it's locked in a box. This doll right here is named Robert, and he's the most infamous doll in the entire world. And the story behind him will creep you out. In 1904, a little boy received Robert the doll as a birthday gift. At first there was nothing wrong, like he was just a normal doll. But then the little boy started saying strange things like, Robert made me do it, Robert told me to say this. And this little boy was very well behaved up until this point. He never got into trouble. But now he was getting into trouble every single day at school and blaming it on the doll. One day the family woke up to the little boy screaming on the floor with the doll on top of him with a knife. People even claimed to see the doll moving. And now this doll is locked in a box in the Florida Keys. A lot of him that go to visit him think it's fake at first, but then they claim to feel some kind of demonic force once they actually go into the room. There's even a sign that makes you ask him for permission to take a photo. And they say if you don't, you end up having a lot of bad luck after. Do you think this could be demonic?
Animals with shock.
Do you, man? We'll be seeing that Robert doll in a couple of clips, so I think there's merit to those claims, especially about them. They saying how people be taking pictures of them and bad stuff happened to them. That's some dark energy in that Robert doll, bro. Stay away.
Shocking defense mechanisms. Horned lizard. This small reptile can shoot blood from its eyes as a defense mechanism. It lives in Northern and Central America. The blood contains chemicals that taste bad to predators, helping the lizard escape. Hairy frog. It is also known as the Wolverine frog because it can break its own bones and push them through its skin to form sharp claws when threatened. This horror frog lives in Central Africa. The fastest things in the world, part 2.
Crazy.
Fastest internet, Singapore, 184.65 megabits per second. Fastest running insect, Australian tiger beetle, 5.6 miles per hour. Fastest woman, Florence Joyner, 22 miles per hour. Fastest helicopter, Boeing V-22 Osprey, 351 miles per hour. Fastest spacecraft, NASA's Parker Solar Probe, 93 miles per second.
This woman passed away a few hours after this photo was taken when she flew to Turkey for a mommy makeover. 38-year-old Cadell Brown flew from the UK to Istanbul with her sister Leanne, and she had a procedure done at Clinic Expert. Her procedure included a tummy tuck, liposuction, and BBL. The entire process leading up to the surgery was perfect. They even offered a discount for Cadell, and that's what made her want to do her surgery here. But things took a turn a few hours into the surgery when the doctor came out and told her sister that Cadell was dead. This is the doctor that performed her surgery, and she said that with these types of procedures, it is very high risk. Now, you would think that things could not get worse, but when Cadell's body was brought back to the UK, the coroner told her family that large parts of her organs were missing, such as her brain and her heart. During an interview, the sister said that legally they couldn't do anything and that the clinic was allowed to take the organs if they wanted to.
They returned a body they'd kept pieces of her heart and her intestines. How hard was that to hear? Better. I didn't think it was allowed, but they said it's legal, they can take what they want. Well, I thought you'd have to ask at least permission from family before you took anything, but they sent a death certificate straight away, just put no, there's not even a cause of death.
But a lot of people believe that her organs were removed to sell them.
I mean, we've heard how organs are very valuable, so that's definitely a possibility, man. People be risking their lives, man, when they be getting these BBLs and things like that. To me, it's not worth it at the end of the day, because something like that can happen. Tragedy. Edit. Call them out, man. Like I said, if that's the internet, just call them out.
Just agreed to be euthanized. Former Royal Air Force engineer Pete Scott and his retired nurse wife Christine have signed up for a double SUI pod in Switzerland, where voluntary assisted SUI has been legal since 1942. The pair made the decision after 80-year-old Christine was diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia. Married for 46 years, they plan to die peacefully together in each other's arms with the help of the sarcophagus pod. This controversial death capsule works by replacing air with 100% nitrogen, which quickly renders the occupant unconscious and fully stops their breathing within 10 minutes, resulting in a swift, painless death. As stated by Pete, we have had long, happy, healthy, fulfilled lives, but here we are in old age and it does not do nice things to you. The idea of watching the slow degradation of Chris's mental abilities is horrific to me. Obviously I would care for her to the point I could not, but she has nursed enough people with dementia throughout her career to be adamant that she wants to remain in control of herself and her life. Assisted dying gives her that opportunity, and I would not want to go on living without her.
The dumbest conspiracy theories on Earth that people actually believe.
Break it down.
So, let's take a look. The moon doesn't exist. Right. Yeah, sure. People believe the moon is a hologram that is projected into the sky every night. What? Oh my days. Now, I'm sorry. The dinosaurs built the pyramids of Egypt. Yeah, I bet they did. Who is writing these? What? It says that it was written in the Old Testament that dinosaurs helped the Egyptians to build the Great Pyramids. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Lizard people are running the world. No, I'm not being funny, mate. This isn't Spider-Man. What? No. Approximately 12 million people in America believe that the government is made out of lizards. Guys, if you're watching this video, what are you doing? What are you doing?
They might be mad to the lizard ones, though. I've
Here
seen
is
those
humans
clips.
that have actual superpowers. So Stephen Wiltshire is an artistic artist who can draw an entire cityscape inclusive of all architectural details from his memory after only seeing it once.
A loose goat returned home with a medal after he accidentally joined a half marathon over the weekend, and his owner only found out when she woke up to find social media flooded with photos of her goat in the middle of the race. Joshua the goat lives at a pumpkin patch in Conception Bay South, and the route for the town's very first Trailway Trek half marathon went right by his home. Mr. Joshua is a very friendly little guy, and he's used to following people around while accompanying his family on walks. So when he saw people running by, he must have thought it was a cue for him to join. Fueled by adrenaline, Joshua managed to escape his pen and started keeping pace with the runners as if he were a trained athlete. Volunteers tried to contain him, but Joshua was determined to run his race, dodging anyone who tried to stop him. Meanwhile, Heidi Taylor, the owner of Taylor's Pumpkin Patch, had no idea that Joshua had made his own morning plans until she happened to check social media and came face to face with dozens of photos of her goat mid-marathon. She used the post to track his location and showed up with his favorite snacks, which finally enticed him to take a break. Once he was secured on a leash, Heidi took Joshua to the finish line, where he was presented with a medal for finishing first place in the goat division. Joshua ran an estimated total of 3 miles, but in the eyes of the locals, he was the race's undisputed champion. He's now back home, resting after his big day. And Jen and I post something positive every day.
This is what the perfect human body looks like according to science. And yes, women would have bloody baby pouches. A group of anatomists wanted to see what a person would look like if the human body evolved for peak functionality, and then took inspiration from other species that do things better. So firstly, the human 2.0 would have a sturdy chimp's lower back and the shock-absorbing legs of an emu. Posing it here for all my feet people out there. Rare. To improve blood circulation, she has tiny pumps in her groin. I'm not hearing anybody else. Our senses would be enhanced by having supersized eyes and the ears of a cat. Apparently titties are a flaw and had to go. Alright, inside we'd have the reliable heart of a dog, the graceful lungs of a swan, a choke-proof windpipe. And to ensure a pain-free childbirth, women would nurse their babies in a marsupial pouch. So the question is, if this is what the perfect woman would look like, what would change for a man?
That's like it looked like a freaking human hybrid mixed up with just different animals combined. What were those? That's what the perfect, I guess they said evolutionized human look like. It's gonna look like in a couple of years. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's a head turner.
An animal that doesn't die? Giant Galapagos tourists can live 150 years old. There was a quahog named Ming that was 500 years old. But this fascinating creature doesn't die. Tiny jellyfish are known as biologically immortal. If adults injured or can't find food, folds in on itself and turns back into a larva. Like a butterfly back to a caterpillar. So they just live for millions of years? Still dies if it gets eaten.
Wow, what the hell? That was a freaking pretty sick evolutionary cycle. It could turn back to a larva ball, I guess, to make food.
Let's try to guess the religion of these YouTubers. Mr. Beast, I feel like he's Catholic, no? He's got to be a Christian for sure. I know Chandler definitely is. Agnostic, really? I wouldn't expect that. Speed is Christian for sure. Not sure which denomination, but definitely Christian. Yep, there we go. Same with Kai. I feel like a lot of the streamers are religious. Yep, there we go. PewDiePie. Well, he's European, so I feel like there's a decent chance he's Christian. But he's a curveball, and he lives in Japan now, so maybe like a Buddhist. No atheist, really.
Okay.
Markiplier's a curveball to me. I feel like he could be anything. Maybe like agnostic for him. A-religious. So what's that, like non-religious basically? Aiden Ross is Jewish for sure. Yep, Jewish. And then, I know Ryan Tran's like a converted Christian. He's big into God now. Yep. Alright, nice.
Things humans weren't meant to see.
Okay. Did any of those YouTubers shock you? I ain't gonna lie, we're gonna have to call Cap on this, man. It's a good edit though, but yeah, I'm calling Cap. Yeah, that's Cap. Like I said, if y'all see anything that's Cap, bro, I need y'all help call it out so we can learn together, man. This should be trending worldwide of footage like this actually got out. Wait, what the heck? Looks like a damn dog.
Things that only 0.01% of people can do. Touching your nose with your tongue. Yeah, I can't do it. Apparently some people can't just raise one eyebrow. I think I can do it. And apparently some people can't cross their eyes, and I'm pretty sure I just did it. Sneeze with your eyes open. Okay, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. Apparently rolling your tongue is super rare. So apparently I'm a rare person. Apparently some people can bend their hand upwards. How is that possible?
People who turn themselves.
Can any of you guys do that, bro? I couldn't do none of that.
To animals. Toko-san. A Japanese man has spent 12,000 pounds on a hyper-realistic costume to fulfill his lifetime dream of being an animal. He commissioned Seven, a company that makes costumes for TV adverts and films, to produce his bespoke costume. Took them 40 days.
The world's first human dog.
Did you know there might be a dead body in the cargo space of the next airplane you fly in, and you wouldn't even know? Hello, and welcome to Not So Fun Facts, a series where I tell you unsettling facts. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, dentures were sometimes made out of dead soldiers' teeth. As you can imagine, they didn't last very long. Have you ever felt something so cold that it felt hot? Some people who die of hypothermia are found naked because as their body temperature drops, they start to feel burning hot and take off their clothes, leading to an even quicker death. Like and follow for more.
There was something evil in this woman's room, because it looked like her dog was telling her she saw something that her owner couldn't. A woman in Sydney was woken up at 5 a.m. by her dog, Coda. She started shaking uncontrollably and looking at something that was in the room with them.
She's shaking. It's like in a defensive position.
The woman kept looking to see what it was, but she couldn't see anything. But strangely, Coda was on defense the whole time.
You can see he's trying to protect his owner. Dogs can
Coda
see
then
the spirit.
hopped in the bed, keeping her eyes on whatever was there, aggressively growling at it. What exactly did Coda see in that room? And what would you do in this situation? Let me know what you think.
I'm getting the hell out the roof.
She's known as the most haunted doll in Iowa and one of the most haunted dolls in the United States. It's said that Ginger is possessed by a demon. People have seen her move by herself. She's been recorded jumping off of tabletops, and people have watched her pick things up. Nobody knows what type of a spirit is inside of Ginger, but she's kept locked in this box because people are so afraid of her. Look into her eyes, and you might see a demon. The full video of us investigating Ginger at the haunted Malvern Manor will be out this Wednesday on the Paranormal Files, my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio.
Robert got some competition, bro. Robert versus Ginger. Who gonna win? Haunted dolls.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're most likely giving you a bad deal, and you should just walk away. If a person is trying to intimidate you, stare at their forehead with a blank expression. This will psychologically make them self-conscious. Chewing gum when you're nervous really does help, because your brain thinks, I'm eating, so I must not be in danger. If you want to know if someone is interested in what you're saying, cross your arms. If they cross their arms too, this is called mirroring, and it actually means they're interested in the conversation. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day, you'll see this item out of place, and you'll remember why you put it there. Finally, if two people are arguing, stand in between them and eat something. It'll help alleviate the tension.
Really? I've seen that a couple of times before. I wonder why people did
Things
that.
almost no humans can do, apart from not shot, and if you can, then you're bloody weird. This is where you bend your thumb back onto your hand like that. Only 1% of humans can actually do this. Try this video if you can do it.
I can't. You guys try.
Humans were never meant to see. They strapped a camera on a shark, and look what it captured.
Hold on. Shark GoPro?
You can see the camera is attached. Now, as the shark goes deeper in the water, you won't believe the shocking sighting it caught. Wait for it.
What it saw?
Now look closely.
You guys see it? Oh, that's like look like a big hand. What the fuck?
Here it comes.
Oh, I thought we already saw. What the fuck?
Is that a mermaid?
If kids' drawings were real, easily one of the most creepiest videos I think I've ever looked at. I mean, the one I think terrifies me the most. It's just strange, distorted faces, man. Gosh, this is like nightmare fuel. And the cat?
It is. It's pure nightmare fuel, bro.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is how many lives of politicians were ended in Mexico just in the first half of 2024. Any country in blue on this map used to display people at zoos. This map shows air quality in Europe. Dark blue is the cleanest air, and red is the air that can cause problems. This map shows every nuclear power plant in the world, with green being operational, red being shut down, and blue being under construction. In the state in red is where a popular adult entertainment website has been banned as of July 1st. This map shows where all of the pirate attacks have been located in the 21st century, with red being the very hot areas. There are 1 billion people in each individual color on this map. This map shows the topography of Peru, and this map shows the topography of Germany. These are the hottest temperatures that have ever been recorded in every U.S. state. This map shows which gender has the highest BMI on average. The red countries are where more women have a higher BMI, and the blue countries are where more men have a higher BMI. And yellow is just equal.
I saw a lot of red, bro. And blue. Man, you gotta do better, bro.
Let's talk about some of the craziest true crime documentaries that are coming out in October.
Talk about
we're
it.
Gonna get some of the best of the year. The Menendez brothers are getting a documentary on Netflix where they're actually going to tell their own story. This is, of course, coming on the heels of the Netflix Ryan Murphy show about them, but in this one, they're actually interviewed. Also, I'm Kaylin, and I love giving recommendations if you want to follow along. And then 2 days later, we're actually getting a Scamanda documentary on Hulu. That's the story of how Amanda Riley scammed people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by pretending to have cancer. It was originally a podcast, and so was Sweet Bobby, which is also getting a documentary this month. It follows one of the craziest catfishing stories I've ever heard, and you kind of just have to see it to believe it. And this one's kind of crazy, but there was a Chris Brown documentary kind of made in secret called A History of Violence. It's going to be on Hulu, and it was actually made by the people who made Quiet on Set earlier this year. And then in time for spooky season, Disney Plus is putting out Witches, The Truth Behind the Trials. It promises to tell a kind of unknown history about the witch trials starting back when they were taking place in Europe. And then the one I'm probably the most excited for is a Netflix doc called This is the Zodiac Speaking. It's a 3-part docuseries that apparently really focuses in on one suspect in the Zodiac case. Which ones are you going to be watching this month?
You guys gonna check that out?
I think it's safe to say this might be the best horror movie of this year. You literally have Art the Clown unaliving a Santa Claus with a chainsaw. He's then gonna wear his suit. Well, with the fact that Art the Clown is finally coming to a video game, he's going to be in Call of Duty in the next couple days. He's finally starting to get the recognition he deserves. With that, here's every theory in my own theory for Terrifier 3. Starting with my own, at some point Santa's going to be going to the 9th Circle of Hell, aka the first spot Art the Clown took his victims in order to get immortality. She's going to go there and either sacrifice herself or someone else, or put something up as fodder in order to get Art the Clown off of Earth. Then I have a theory online speculating that the final girl from the first movie is going to be possessed by a demon and try to unalive Art the Clown with Sienna and her brother. Now that made sense to me for a while, until I took another look at the original photo that came out for this movie. She's with Art the Clown sitting on top of an unalived Santa Claus. Is Art the Clown the demon that's possessing her? I think that's a massive possibility. It's that strong. I've also been seeing theories online that this is young Sienna, and her first time seeing Art the Clown. She was over at her friend's house or at a sleepover during Christmas time. Art the Clown came in and unalived everybody's parents, and that's where his obsession with her started, hence the reason he's all about her. Me personally, I genuinely have no idea where this movie's going. All I know is it's going to be absolutely insane, and the first 5 minutes are going to shock everybody.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is a prediction of what the world is going to look like 250 million years from now. These are the CO2 emissions across the Indian subcontinent, with the lightest, whitest areas being the highest.
Damn.
This map shows all of the foreign military presence that is sitting in Africa right now. This map shows the most valuable Italian brands and where exactly they came from. If you draw a straight line between the northernmost point and southernmost point in the contiguous United States, along with the westernmost point to the easternmost point, the lines do not intersect. This map shows what the size of the Great Lakes would look like if it was in Europe. This map shows which state you could find the highest percentage of people with ancestry from every European country. This map shows where every popular sitcom took place. Every red dot on this map is a football pitch or a soccer field if you're from the United States. This map shows that in 1990, most of the United States had 15% or less obese adults in their state, where less than 30 years later, now almost every state has more than 25% obesity rates.
The deadliest game show I bet you've never heard of. The show was called The Chamber, and only 3 episodes aired before it was canceled. Why cancel it so soon? Well, they literally tortured the contestants. The game was rather simple. In the pre-game face-off, 2 contestants would go back and forth answering questions. The winner moved on to the main game. The loser was sent home packing. The main game is where you would enter into the chamber. You were offered a $500 buyout if you didn't want to go any further, but nobody took it. When you entered the chamber, you would be strapped into a chair and hooked up to electrodes, muscle contractors, and medical equipment. And then a computer would choose whether you got the hot chamber or the cold. Once the chamber was sealed, the game began, and your goal was simple. Answer as many questions as quickly as you can, while surviving the environmental torture that was thrown at you. In the hot chamber, they could increase the temperature up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hell no.
Simulated earthquakes would also shake the chamber, going up to a 9.5 on the Richter scale. The more you progressed, the more the muscle contractors would activate. The chair would move back and forth, up and down, and rotate in complete circles. They would even drop the oxygen levels in the chamber, as well as blasting you in the face with winds up to 140 miles an hour. The cold chamber was equally as torturous, honestly if not worse. The temperature could drop to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. In the cold chamber, instead of rotating the chair, they would be sprayed with water jets, causing ice to form on the players. The game would end in a few different ways. If you answered 2 questions in a row wrong, you were out. If the medical team felt you were going to pass, you were also out. You could also yell "Stop the chamber" to forfeit, which, surprise, surprise, nobody did. A total of 6 episodes were made, and the 3 unaired episodes reportedly had an insect chamber, an electric shock chamber, and a water torture chamber.
Dude.
The most you could have won on the show was around $120,000.
What?
The most anybody ever actually won was $20,000. That person, Scott Brown, got through all 7 levels of the cold chamber and was actually hospitalized afterwards. He then sued Fox and won $100,000.
They put them all through that for $100,000. Nah, we need a meal, bro. Well, I put them through all that, man, just for that small amount of money. But it goes to show you, man, the things people do for money, man. That's what I be saying sometimes. I know. That's why I say money is the root of all evil. Seekers, that's it for this video for you guys today. If you guys made it with me to the end, you're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Make sure you guys like the video, comment down below, follow me on my social medias. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.